Welcome back to Tetrakan Super Monoblock. In this video I'm going to make a demonstration recording on this Fostex X15 Series 2 multi-tracker. So it's kind of a tutorial for someone who's got one of these and wants to see the process. The music I'm going to be recording is an interpretation of Snarf's theme from the 1986 children's cartoon Thundercats. If you know the cartoon, then you know that Snarf's a bit shit. You know, he's still a Thundercat, but he's the shittest Thundercat. Likewise, it's still a multi-tracker, but if you see my review of this, it's not the greatest, to be honest. The piece of music is only 30 seconds long. The way I've got this hooked up, these two cables here, that's going into the line out sockets from this, and they're going into some powered monitors over yonder. So any audio that you hear is the sound of those not especially great monitors being picked up by my not especially great smartphone, which I'm using as a camera. We're starting with the unit zeroed, so to speak, so powered on. I'm using a power adapter. Faders are down, the gain controls are at 0, the pan controls are at 0. Both of these bus selection switches are set to remix, which is the appropriate setting if you're just going to play back a tape. There's no treble added, and neither channel A nor channel B are armed for recording. So I usually start a recording with some sort of percussion so that my timing on subsequent overdubs isn't too rubbish. In this case, I've got a little Teenage Engineering pocket operator rhythm. This socket here has got the audio going on the left channel and the synchronization data, which we're not going to be using, on the right channel. So you can see this cable, I've only got the leftmost of the two outputs from this cable going into the left line in input on the side of the machine. Now, one of the things that's kind of weird about the way that this one works is that you can't actually hear your input signal until you're recording. In all the multi-trackers I've dealt with so far, it's unique in that respect, and I don't mean unique in a good way. So we need to find a workaround for that. So the first thing we want to do is arm channel A and set the input for channel A to line. That now means that if I hit record, then any signal that's coming out of this drum machine via this white plug into the left line input is going to pass through the mixer. Next thing I'm going to do, this is my workaround so I can actually hear and adjust the signal before I start committing anything to tape, is I'm going to trick this into thinking that there is a cassette in it. So what I'm going to do is pause the transport, lift it up, this top left button in the cavity. If I press that, that's the record enable thing. Basically, this tab on your cassette would normally push that lever up, and that allows me to push down, play and record. You can see now that the record button is lit. Obviously nothing is recording because there's no cassette in there, but now I'm going to be able to monitor anything that's coming out of the drum machine. So if I press play and raise the fader, you can see the output of the drum machine hitting the meter there. Probably for a percussion track like that, I like to err on the side of saturated and distorted as opposed to clean but hissy. Can't hear that yet because this control up here is what controls the monitoring. And maybe some of you are coming to this video with a bit of knowledge about how some other multi-trackers work and wondering whether that pan control setting is critical in this unit. It isn't. If I set that playing again, set my EQ. Ooh, if I turn that bass up, then that's making it sound worse. I think I'm probably just going to leave that where it is. Treble. I'm going to set it there where it's slightly too bright. What I'm doing is anticipating that the nature of cassette is going to attenuate the high frequencies a bit. So I'm recording bright to tape so that it's going to sound about the right brightness in playback. I can stop that now. Insert my tape, confident that when I hit record, the sound going on the tape is going to sound right without me needing to record over tape several times until I get the settings set up. Someone's uploaded a video manual of this, and in this they always say to press pause before you hit record. I wonder if that's to stop a kind of little pitch smear as the recording cuts in. I'm not sure whether it's critical, but it is what they advise. I will hit pause first. Then I'll hit record. Record and play buttons are latched, so that goes down automatically. Hit pause, press play on my device. Now I can use the counter to guess roughly where I was. I'm going to put this channel back in safe mode. So you can see that the faders also act as master bus faders. They've got this weird dual function that I don't find particularly intuitive, possibly just because I'm more used to Tascam machines, but you need to have them in this. See, there's an area between 7 and 8, which is shaded. That's kind of unity gain. You can see I can now pan my recorded signal between the left and right. Let me just rewind that back again. I think this camera picks up in stereo, so hopefully you can hear I can now place the recorded signal in the stereo field, but certainly you can see the signal moving from the left to the right master bus here. And if I haven't already said, as well as these being dual function input gain and master output in remix mode, similarly these meters, they're going to show you your input signal for recording, and they're also going to show you the output level out of your line out when you're in playback mode. My next instrument is going to be a synthesizer bass. I've gone way off screen and set up my mininova synthesizer. The output of this is going via this cable to channel B, and the record track for channel B is set to 2. You can see I've wound back to 0. I've got the cassette in pause and record as I did with the drum machine, and I've gone ahead and adjusted my EQ. This is a really bass heavy sound, so I have turned down the bass a little bit, and I'm still putting up the treble a little bit just to compensate for the dullness of the cassette. And you can see that I'm just kind of coming up to 0 decibels. This one's set to remix now, this one's set to mic. Wish me luck. That was actually completely wrong. I've completely forgot what the chord progression was, just performance anxiety, but I will go over that with the correct notes, so that will be recorded hopefully in my second, maybe my third or fourth take by the time you see the next segment. Right, so I got the bass okay on the second take. Timing's not amazing, but it'll do. What I've got happening now is I've got channels 1 and 2 turned up, panned all the way to the right, and both of these settings are set to remix, but I've got track 4 armed. So what I'm doing here is, even though I'm doing a really simple representation of only one part of what's already a very short cartoon theme, just for the sake of demonstrations, I'll show you how to bounce tracks. So I'm going to bounce the bass and the drum machine from tracks 1 and 2, so they occupy track 4, and then I've got 3 tracks left. But that's me rewind back to 0. Now if I do this, occasionally flashing at 0, so I'm not adding any extra tape saturation. If I had that up in the red, and then I could get more tape saturation there. Now if I stop and rewind, turn down channels 1 and 2 and turn up 4, put that back on safe, press play. It's now on. Now you can see here that the monaural bass and drum machine is responding to the pan control moving between the 2 speakers. Well, I hope you can hear that. I'm assuming that this camera picks up stereo. So I can now record in tracks 1, 2 and 3, and basically I'll be scrubbing out the work I did earlier. In that way I've given myself 5 layers instead of 4. Actually what I could do is, as long as I didn't mind it getting bounced into mono, I could have put one of the synths there as well and bounced all 3 of them down to 1 track. Rewind back to 0, pause, record. I'm now arming track 1, so I'm recording over the original drum machine signal. It's slightly off screen here, but you hear me pressing the keyboard. The keyboard's now plugged into the input for channel A. Channel A is set to mic input. I've adjusted this gain, so now play that melody, then it's peaking at around 0. Change the EQ. I want to leave most of the bass frequencies for the bass synth that I've already got in there. So my drum machine and bass are turned all the way up. The synth that I'm about to record is turned most of the way up. The other two are turned down. Wish me luck. And I ballsed it up! Right, we can assume that I get that in take 2 or 3, which it will be there when I come back. I've got something sort of okay sounding with that lead synth part. Again, timing's not amazing, but you know, this is to demonstrate the switches and everything on this rather than produce an amazing result. I'm now recording onto track 2. I'm recording over the original synth bass. The lead synth is here, bass synth and drums are here. Track 3 is as yet unoccupied. This kind of popcorn sounding keyboard sound. Here we go. Come in on the second verse on this one. One take, just like some kind of New York session musician, aren't I? Right, continuing the cheese fest, I've now got my little Yamaha CP reface guy with a... Whoa, need to be careful with that, but it's sort of meant to simulate the woodwind stabs that are in the original recording. Probably what I should have showed you there is just that the output of that is going into channel A's mic input, so got channel 3 armed, that mic switch is set to mic. Move on to showing you mix down. Okay, I've got kind of a balance and a bit of a stereo image happening. Bass and drums are centre. Melody synth that you hear is panned a little bit to the left. The pizzicato-ish sounding one that comes in the higher register is just off to the right, and then the wow stabs are just kind of not quite hard right. I've just really only become aware as I'm doing this. If you you hear that? In the background. I've done so much to this unit, honestly. I've spent so much time in it. I will maybe have a look and see if earth cables become disconnected from the record playback head, but I don't know, is that just indicative of the noise in the system? Possibly there are cleaner sounding examples out there. If it weren't for that 60 hertz, whatever it is, hum that's coming on anytime you're pressing play, then I would say the sound quality is okay. Afterwards I will actually record this so that you're hearing a digital snapshot of what comes out of this, not just the camera via my crappy monitor, so you get a better picture of it. But here's how the whole thing sounds. And there we go, Snarf is the X15 spirit animal. Thanks for watching, hope to see you again soon.